When a young boy stopped to help a stranded millionaire on a quiet rural road, he had no idea how much his kindness would change his life. The very next day, a mysterious black SUV pulled up to his house, setting off a chain of events that left the entire neighborhood in awe. Malcolm sat in his sleek black SUV, gripping the steering wheel as the sun blazed down on the long stretch of road. The Kansas summer heat was oppressive, and he cursed under his breath as he glanced at his watch. He was running late for a crucial meeting in Chicago, one that could determine the future of his thriving tech company. Just as his car sped along the deserted rural road, a loud bump interrupted his thoughts, followed by the unsettling rhythmic pounding of a flat tire. "Perfect," he muttered, pulling to the side of the road in frustration. Dust clouded the air as he stepped out, adjusting his tailored suit jacket. The flat tire was shredded beyond repair, and to make matters worse, his phone had no signal. Malcolm sighed, realizing he had never changed a tire in his life. He had always paid others to handle such problems. He stared helplessly at the flat, his frustration growing. The empty road seemed endless, and the heat pressed down on him like a heavy blanket. Just as he began pacing, he noticed a figure in the distance, a boy, no older than 14, walking toward him with a confident stride. "Hey there, mister! You need help?" the boy called out as he approached. His name was Jeremiah, and he wore a worn-out t-shirt and sneakers that had seen better days. Malcolm hesitated, scanning the boy's kind yet determined expression. He wasn't used to relying on strangers, much less a kid. Jeremiah squatted next to the tire, inspecting it with a practiced eye. "Got a spare in the back?" he asked, glancing up at Malcolm. Malcolm blinked in surprise. "You know how to fix this?" Jeremiah grinned. "Sure do. My dad showed me how. No big deal." Reluctantly, Malcolm stepped aside, watching as Jeremiah moved to the rear of the SUV and located the spare tire and tools. The boy worked with confidence, loosening the lug nuts and jacking up the car with ease. Malcolm stood awkwardly nearby, unsure of what to do with his hands. "You're really doing this," Malcolm murmured, more to himself than Jeremiah. "Yep," Jeremiah said cheerfully, wiping sweat from his brow as he slid the new tire into place. "Just gotta tighten it up now." Within minutes, the task was complete. Jeremiah stood, brushing dirt off his hands, and gave Malcolm a thumbs up. "All done, mister. You're good to go." Malcolm reached into his wallet and pulled out a crisp $100 bill. "Here, kid. Thanks for your help. You didn't have to do this." Jeremiah immediately shook his head, backing away. "No thanks. I don't need money. Just wanted to help." Malcolm frowned, holding the bill out further. "Seriously, take it. You've earned it." Jeremiah smiled politely but firmly. "It's okay, mister. Helping you is enough for me." With that, the boy turned, waving briefly before walking down the road the same way he had come. Malcolm stood frozen, the bill still in his hand. He wasn't used to favors without strings attached, much less from someone who clearly could use the money. As he climbed back into his SUV and started driving, he couldn't shake the image of the boy's cheerful face. Why had Jeremiah refused? Was it pride? Kindness? Malcolm didn't know, but the interaction unsettled him in a way he couldn't explain. That evening, as Malcolm sat in his Chicago penthouse, the encounter replayed in his mind. The view of the city skyline did little to distract him. His wife, Lauren, eventually noticed his distraction over dinner. "You're quiet tonight," she remarked. "Everything okay?" Malcolm set down his fork. "I met this boy earlier today. He helped me change a flat tire, refused to take any money for it. I can't stop thinking about it." Lauren smiled softly. "Sounds like someone who just wanted to do the right thing." Malcolm frowned, shaking his head. "It doesn't make sense. Everyone wants something." "Not everyone," Lauren replied. "Sometimes people help because they can, because it's the right thing to do." Malcolm fell silent, her words lingering long after they had cleared the table. The next morning, Malcolm woke with a renewed sense of purpose. He wasn't the type to leave things unresolved. He decided he had to find Jeremiah, not to repay him, but to understand why the boy had acted the way he did. Swapping his usual suit for a casual shirt and jeans, Malcolm drove back to the rural road where the encounter had happened. The landscape felt familiar as he retraced his route, scanning for any sign of the boy or where he might live. After some time, he spotted a small, weathered house set back from the road. Malcolm parked and walked up to the door, his heart pounding slightly. When he knocked, a woman in her mid-40s answered. Her face was lined with the marks of hard work, but her eyes were warm and curious. "Can I help you?" she asked. "I'm looking for a boy named Jeremiah. He helped me with my car yesterday," Malcolm explained. The woman's expression softened. "You mean my son? Hang on, Jeremiah!" she called over her shoulder. Moments later, Jeremiah appeared, his eyes widening in recognition. "Oh, hey, mister. Everything okay with the car?" Malcolm smiled. "The car's fine. I wanted to thank you properly. Maybe do something for you in return." Jeremiah shrugged casually. "I told you, mister. It wasn't a big deal." Malcolm glanced at the modest surroundings, the peeling paint, the sagging porch steps. "It might not be a big deal to you, but it was to me. Please let me do something to repay your kindness." Jeremiah exchanged a look with his mother. She gave him a small nod, and he turned back to Malcolm, his expression thoughtful. "Well, if you really want to, maybe you could help fix the porch. It's been squeaking for a while." That small request snowballed into something bigger. Over the next few weeks, Malcolm hired contractors to repair not just the porch, but the roof, plumbing, and interior of the house. Jeremiah and his mother, Anita, watched in awe as their home was transformed. Jeremiah was eager to help, assisting the workers by carrying tools or holding ladders. Malcolm even found himself rolling up his sleeves, painting walls and hammering nails. The work was exhausting, but it filled Malcolm with a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. One afternoon, as they took a break, Anita brought out lemonade for everyone. She sat beside Malcolm on the porch, watching Jeremiah chat animatedly with one of the workers. "I still don't understand why you're doing all this," she said, her voice filled with both gratitude and curiosity. Malcolm looked at her, then at Jeremiah. "Your son reminded me of something I'd forgotten, that sometimes helping others is the greatest reward." On the final day of renovations, Malcolm arrived with a surprise. As Jeremiah admired the newly painted walls of his bedroom and the sturdy new roof overhead, Malcolm handed Anita an envelope. "What's this?" she asked, opening it carefully. Inside was a college fund for Jeremiah, complete with a letter explaining Malcolm's wish for the boy to have every opportunity in life. Anita's hands trembled as she read, tears filling her eyes. "Mr. Malcolm, this is too much," she whispered. "We can't accept this." "Yes, you can," Malcolm replied gently. "Your son gave me something priceless. Let me give back." Jeremiah hugged Malcolm tightly, his voice breaking. "Thank you, mister. I'll make you proud." As the sun set over their now beautiful home, the family stood on the porch, watching the sky turn shades of gold and pink. Jeremiah looked up at Malcolm, his eyes shining with determination. "One day, I'm going to help people too, just like you helped us," he said. Malcolm smiled, resting a hand on the boy's shoulder. "You already are, Jeremiah. You already are." As the neighbors began to hear about the transformation, they stopped by, curious to see the new house and to greet Malcolm, Anita, and Jeremiah. A sense of community blossomed that hadn't existed in years. People brought food, shared stories, and admired the work that had been done. Jeremiah beamed with pride as he gave tours of his renovated home, his excitement contagious. Malcolm stood back, leaning against the porch railing, watching it all unfold. It wasn't just a house that had been rebuilt, It was a sense of hope, belonging, and unity. Anita approached Malcolm, holding a plate of homemade pie she had been saving for a special occasion. "Mr. Malcolm," she began, her voice steady yet emotional, "you didn't just fix our house. You gave us back something we hadn't felt in a long time: dignity and hope." Malcolm smiled, shaking his head. "You and Jeremiah gave me something too. You reminded me that life is about more than just success and money. It's about people, connections, and doing what's right." Jeremiah darted over, interrupting the heartfelt moment. "Hey, mister, come meet Mr. Willis. He says he worked on the same kind of cars you drive." The boy's energy was boundless, and Malcolm couldn't help but laugh, following him toward the small crowd. The evening wound down, and as the neighbors left, Malcolm lingered on the porch with Anita and Jeremiah. The stars dotted the night sky, and the cool breeze carried the sounds of distant crickets. Jeremiah looked up at Malcolm, his expression serious for once. "I've been thinking, mister," he said softly. "When I grow up, I want to be someone who helps people, just like you helped us." Malcolm crouched down, placing a hand on Jeremiah's shoulder. "Jeremiah, you already have that in you. You helped me on that road when you didn't have to. You've got the heart of someone who can change the world." Anita joined them, her voice filled with pride. "Whatever you choose to do, Jeremiah, you'll always have us behind you. And now, thanks to Mr. Malcolm, you'll have the tools to do it." Malcolm looked at them both, feeling something in his chest he hadn't felt in years: genuine fulfillment. "And you'll have me too. Wherever life takes you, I'll be here to help you every step of the way." The next morning, as Malcolm prepared to leave, Jeremiah and Anita stood in the yard, waving him off. Jeremiah ran up to the car as Malcolm opened the door. "You'll come back, right?" the boy asked, his eyes wide with hope. Malcolm smiled, ruffling Jeremiah's hair. "You can count on it." He climbed into the SUV, glancing at the house one last time in the rearview mirror. It wasn't just a house anymore. It was a symbol of what kindness could build, of the lives that could be touched by one simple act. As Malcolm drove away, he knew this wasn't the end. It was the start of something much bigger, a lifelong bond with a boy who reminded him of the power of giving, and a promise to carry that spirit forward in every aspect of his life. Months later, Jeremiah's story spread beyond the small town. Malcolm shared the tale during a corporate keynote, not to boast, but to inspire others. Donations poured in for community projects, and Jeremiah's act of kindness became a catalyst for change. Anita received letters of gratitude, thanking Jeremiah for reminding people of the importance of selfless acts. The family's once quiet, modest home became a gathering place for neighbors, filled with laughter, warmth, and hope. Malcolm visited often, bringing not just gifts or resources, but his time, his presence, and his friendship. He and Jeremiah formed a bond like father and son, a connection that grew stronger with each visit. For Malcolm, it wasn't just about repaying a favor. It was about living a lesson that Jeremiah had unknowingly taught him. Sometimes the greatest rewards come not from what you take, but from what you give.